named after her. Naom is delighted the lovers sail the sea for 3 weeks and then return to their mansion with maids, cooks, and security guards. After a year and a half of paradise, Naomi makes a jealous scene with her husband. It turns out that he has a mistress who likes to hurt him. We also learned that Belford has a daughter, Skylar, whom he constantly wakes up when he returns home at night during another scandal. Naomi pours water over her harmful husband. Enraged Belford tidies himself up and goes to make peace with his wife. He kisses his daughter, but Naomi is still angry and forbids her husband to touch her. Belford goes to work. His company places stocks of famous shoe designer Steve Madden. On emotion, Donnie eats a goldfish right out of a fish tank, and Belford gives a very emotional speech about future billions and low, and behold, they made $22 million in 3 hours. This is unbelievable. FBI agent Patrick Denham becomes interested in Belford's rapid enrichment, which makes him very nervous because the way he earned his money is not the fairest. The detective comes to interrogate him right on Naomi's luxury. Ark Belford plays the role of a good nation host, introduces the men to his attractive girlfriend, and offers them a drink. The man wants to bribe the detectives, but they refuse, and Belford chases them off of his yard, throwing expensive lobsters as they leave. Then he takes a wad of dollars and tosses the bills around like scrap paper. He realizes that the detectives won't leave him alone, so he decides to go to Switzerland to hide his money there on the plane. Belford behaved so inadequately that he almost gets thrown overboard waking up. The rowdy finds himself tied up. Belford meets with his business partners and opens an account at a Swiss bank in the name of Naomi's Aunt Emma. It all works out, and now Belford sends huge sums of money to Switzerland. And Emma can handle such a flood of money, so he has to invent different methods. For example, his partner Brad glues words of money directly onto the body of an attractive blonde. Everything goes well, but Donnie spoils it all. He argues with. Brad gets punched in the face and then makes a scene in the street with a suitcase full of money in his hands. They start fighting. The suitcase opens, doors fly in all directions, and the police shows up just in time. Donnie manages to escape, but Brad is left with the suitcase and gets arrested, frightened. Belford takes a strong substance and completely loses control of himself. He crawls around the house and then rolls down onto the stairs and tries to get into the car, and he succeeds. The man gets behind a wheel, and by some miracle doesn't even get into an accident at the same time. Donnie, under the influence of a strong substance, first calls Switzerland and tells some nonsense to a bank employee, and then chokes on food. Horrified, Belford comes to his senses and gives his friend a kiss of life. It worked. Donnie is breathing again. Then Belford sees the police showing up in his house, and we learned that our hero crashed his car under the influence of substances and didn't even notice it. Our hero gets released, but now he's being followed for real. Belford's father asks his son to leave the company, otherwise everyone will end up in jail for it. He gathers his team to announce his resignation, but changes his mind at the last minute and stays not thinking about the future. His employees scream and dance with happiness. The parties on the yard continue. However, he faces many problems first. The constant interrogations then, and Emma's death. Belford rushes on a yard to Switzerland to get the inheritance. There is a big storm at sea. The boat is covered by huge waves, and in the end, they all get washed up overboard. Fortunately, a rescue helicopter arrives on time 2 years later. While shooting another commercial, Belford is arrested by the FBI. It turns out that he was played by the Swiss banker. The evidence of his guilt is too obvious, and Belford agrees to turn over all his colleagues. He is put under house arrest with all his property taken away. He even has to mortgage his house. Disappointed, Naomi demands a divorce. They have a terrible scandal. Belford grabs his eldest daughter and takes her out of the house, but the car crashed right in the yard, and Naomi immediately takes the girl home the next morning. The FBI hides a listening microphone on the Belford's clothes. He goes to meet Donnie. He shows his friend a note warning him about the wire, but the detective notices the note and places Belvedere in custody for violating their terms. The man has no choice but to turn over all his friends. The FBI breaks into Stratton Oakmont and arrests a bunch of people for cooperating with the FBI. Belford gets his sentence reduced and is sentenced to 3 years in prison and a $110 million fine when released. Belford holds seminars on the art of trade, and his seems to be doing great again. This was the Film Reel channel, and we wish you to make millions too, but in a fair way.